Before we start, can anyone out of you answer these 3 questions to me, which are coming on the screen? Why is accounting required? Who needs accounting, and when is accounting required? So just give a try, please.
Sir, why? Because to keep the records in a systematic manner and to evaluate the financials in a systematic manner.
Okay, and who needs accounting, and when is accounting required?
Anyone who involves in any kind of business.
I am earning 100 crore of rupees, my sales is 100 crores. But will I continue my business if my sale is 100 crores, but my expenses are 10,000 crores? Will I do that? The answer, maybe yes, for some strategic reasons, or maybe preparing their accounts, whether only the management of Airtel wants that accounts or everyone around them is interested in those accounts. See, the employees are interested in the accounts. The employees want to know how much did the company make, whether we will be getting good bonuses this year or not. Right? Everyone wants a monetary reward, whether our company is in good hands. Because tomorrow, will I get a salary or not? If I work for 1 month and then I get to know my company is doing badly and I won't be getting any salary, like the way it happened with Kingfisher Airlines, Jet Airways, the pilots and the other staff did not get any salary for the 6 to 7 months before leaving the organization. Right? Even as an individual, I am also interested in Airtel accounts because I have invested in Airtel stock and I want to see how they are performing, whether my stock will give me capital appreciation or any dividend. Are you guys getting me? So everyone needs accounting at their own level. Even the government is interested in the accounts. Government wants to see whether you are paying the right taxes or not. You need to pay back to government. So government wants to check whether if you are paying them 20 rupees taxes, whether that tax number is right or wrong. And how does the government check it? They check it via your financial statements. And when is accounting required? It is a continuous process. Accounting is required continuously. From recording to summarizing, everything happens on a daily basis. Right? So, the base, the start, meaning of accounting. In very simple terms, let us break this definition which you can see on the screen. Process of recording, that whenever we do a transaction, any transaction, whatever we do, maybe I am having a business and I purchase some furniture for my office. So the very first step of recording that furniture in my books is called as recording, and Does anyone know in which books we do the recording? Can anyone tell me?
Journals.
Yes, right. The very first book of account is called journal. Yeah, you're saying something, Subhash?
As a fixed access, in a recording in a book, our book.
Yes, we record it in a book called journal. Process of recording, classifying. Sorry, were you saying something?
No.
Okay. So second step is classifying. Classifying happens in a book called ledger. So what happens in classifying? If in a day I have purchased 10 different furnitures from 10 different vendors, so I classify all the furnitures in one account, which is called as a ledger account. It's basically, it summarizes the journal. It tells me that, okay, I have done 10 entries in my journal. It will come in one account. 10 entries will come from journal to ledger. Third is summarizing. Then we summarize it. We summarize it in trial balance. Trial balance. First, we make a trial balance. Trial balance is nothing but a summary of all the accounts. All the accounts, cash account, bank account, debtor account, creditor account. The summary of all the accounts is known as trial balance. Analyzing and interpreting. So how do we analyze and interpret? We prepare the financial statements, which are called balance sheet and profit and loss account, and we interpret those financial statements. And why do we interpret those financial statements? In order to see whether we have incurred a profit or a loss and how is the financial status of our business. That is why accounting is required. So the whole session of today, the next 2 hours, we will be discussing these topics only. Who requires accounting? Why accounting is required? How do we record an entry in the books of accounts? So we'll be discussing this only. What is the difference between financial accounts and managerial accounts? Okay, so has everyone understood the meaning of accounting? Anyone over here who wants a clarification? Come on, guys, tell me.
No, sir.
Everyone is free to speak. You are here to learn, and even I am here to learn from you. If there is something which you guys know, I would be really happy to hear it from you. I understand it's a Saturday morning and early morning, when on days like Saturdays and Sundays, we usually like to sleep till a little late, and you have got up early in order for a session. I understand it's a bit painful, but trust me, if you make this attractive.
Not a painful, because in an Indian company, I'm saying, sir, Indian company has to give the 6 days working. Not something different in Indian culture.
I'm really sorry, Subhash. Your voice is, I am not able to hear you properly. Can you please be a little louder?
Sir, I'm saying in an Indian company having 6 days working, not a 5 day working.
Okay, got you.
Culture give the 5 days work.
Yes. MNCs usually work from, but nowadays it's like MNCs work round the clock. So it's they say that it's 24/7.
Because of work from home, they are taking advantage, sir.
Yeah, actually. So moving ahead, so I hope this is clear to everyone. And moving ahead to the next slide, purpose of accounting.
Yes, sure.
Very simple, in simple terms. Systematic record. Everyone gets me? What is it exactly that I'm doing? I'm just preparing a record for my business transactions. Whatever business transactions I have done, I'm preparing a record of them. It's a legal requirement as well. Hope all of you know that at the end of the year, we need to share our accounts with the income tax department, with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and various other departments. So it's a statutory requirement. I cannot go and tell the departments that I am not preparing any accounts. You can do whatever you want to. My directors would be jailed for that. So a company has a statutory requirement to publish its accounts on an annual or a quarterly or a semi-annually basis. If the company is listed on the stock exchange, then they have to do it on a quarterly and a semi-annually basis, depending upon whether their equity is listed or their debt is listed. If a company is a private company in India, it's not listed, then that company has to publish its annual accounts on an annual basis. Getting accounting as a business language. So if I need, it's like a communication mode. If anyone wants to know about a company, he should check its accounts. If today I say my company is doing really good, it's earning huge profits, will anyone trust me if my accounts are showing a different picture? Will you guys trust me if I today come to you and say that my company is earning 100 crores of revenue? Will you trust me on like directly, or will you ask me for my financial statements?
We'll look at financial statements, sir.
You'll look at the financial statements. Why? Because that is the business language. No one has a trust on the face value. If I today come and say that, okay, this is my financial statements, you will check it and then verify. Why do we need accounting? As we were discussing earlier, how has the organization performed? We check it from the profit and loss account. What is the revenue, what are the expenses, what is the profit or loss, and we check the balance sheet to know what is the status of my organization, what is the financial position of my organization. Okay, I have a simple question for you. There is a company which has cash and bank balance of 1 lakh rupees. And it has a liability to pay, like it has to pay off a debt in its books of 10 lakh rupees. Is it a good company or a bad company? Simple, a very simple question. And I would like other people to answer. Subhash and Kritika are already participating a lot. So a simple request to everyone else to please participate in this and tell me whether you would invest in a company if that has a cash balance of 10,000 rupees and a liability to pay off its external debt of 10,000 rupees. You can also provide your comments in the chat section.
Sir, I can invest in the company.
Okay, you can invest in the company. Okay, so we have one vote in favor of investing in the company. Others?
I believe that we cannot decide just on the basis of the cash available. We need different aspects also.
No, I totally understand that there are many aspects. There are many aspects to it. Let us just assume that we have only this information available to us. We don't have other information. On the basis of this, we need to decide. So what will be your answer? I am with you on the fact that there are many aspects to this and we need to look at it from a holistic point of view. But right now, considering everything as common, just assume that you have 10,000 as a cash and bank balance and 1 lakh to pay off. would you go for it or not? Simple. Would you like to invest your hard-earned money in a company which has 10,000 as bank balance and then 1 lakh as a liability?
No,
According
sir.
to my opinion,
I have not
no,
invested.
I not invest in a company.
Yeah, okay. So Aditya and Subhash say that they will not invest in the company.
Right.
I'll also not.
So we have right now 3 against and 1 in favor of investing.
Sir, I will also not invest in the company.
Great. 4 against, 1 for. Others? Chetan, tell me.
No investment.
No investment. Nikhil?
But, I will not invest in that company.
You'll not invest in the company. Okay. So now, if I was also in your place, I will not invest in this company. So Yashwant, I would like to say one thing. See, today, by looking at its balance sheet, I get to know that the company only has 10,000 rupees to pay, and it has to pay to an external party 1 lakh rupees. From where will it get the money? Right now, I said, assume everything else. You don't have any other information. What is the ratio? If I see at the current ratio level, which is my current assets upon current liabilities, so it is 1:10. For every 10 rupee which I have to pay to an external party, I only have 1 rupee available with me. So that means that the financial health of the company is not good. They are suffering, they are bleeding. They don't have assets to pay off their liabilities. So tomorrow, any person can come and sue them because they have not made their payments on time. So we have seen it in the newspapers, in the media reports, that there are many companies which are defaulting on their payments to banks or to other third parties and going in the IBC process. They are going to NCLT for resolution. They are saying that they are going to banks that, okay, we do not have the capacity to pay you. Please take our assets with you. We cannot pay you. So has everyone heard about the company named DHFL?
Yes, sir.
Divan Housing Finance.
Yeah, so
They were
everyone knew what
housing.
happened with them. They were not able to pay off
Yes, sir.
their debenture holders. They had issued certain debentures. When the due date came, they said that we don't have money. Our business is not doing good. They had less of cash and bank balance and more of the liabilities, due to which they were not able to meet their commitments, and due to which the public faith in that company came down and their stock prices have crashed badly. Right? So that is why we see a balance sheet to know where this organization stands. What is the financial position of the organization?
Why it has happened
Right?
with DHFL? Because
Because
we are talking about this accounting and all that, and we are thinking this is in statutory practice. We have to go and corporate affairs also do that. Is it fraud from which end? Because
So see-
there is some flow while reporting these accounts. There must be.
Sorry. Come again.
There must be some sort of flaw in the reporting of financials.
Yes, that is what that is the case. The company was not doing so well, right? And how do you see how this thing happens is, I'll tell you. All the NBFCs or banks, so how do they do their business? They raise some money, right? They raise some money from the market, be it equity market or debt market. They issue debentures to people like us, to corporates, and then to to general public. Now, if they are not able to receive that money from the general public, they don't have their assets. Now, general public has not paid them on time, or maybe they have invested in some assets which have not yielded results. They have invested in some fraudulent accounts, or their NPAs have gone higher, due to which they do not get their money back at the stipulated time. So they had anticipated that, okay, what I'll do is I'll invest this money for 5 years and I have to pay this back after 5.5 years. So I will have good 6-month period gap in which I can pay. Right? If today I lend you 100 rupees and I know I need to pay 100 rupees to anyone else after 6 months, and I lend you for 5 months, I know after 5 months you guys will pay me and I will lend it back to the person from whom I have taken. But if you guys default on my payment, then what happens to me? I should have cash to pay to that creditor also, but I don't have cash, that amount of cash to pay to my creditors. Or maybe I have invested in some fraudulent accounts, like currently in the case of PMC bank crisis. It's just a couple of days back, it was in the newspaper that it's been 1 year since this crisis, PMC bank crisis took place. They used to divert their funds. They were giving it to their related parties. They were diverting their funds. And when it came, RBI inspected them. They got to know that they don't have any assets, but they have huge liabilities to pay off, which they are unable to. People have still not received their money from PMC Bank. So that is the case. Am I clear? Deepak, it was your question?
Yes.
Okay, so is it clear?
I mean, so we in the later half we'll see that why it means who allowed them to make them fraudulent.
See, that is altogether a different story. That is like a business practice. If I do certain malpractices and then my accounts are not showing the exact result, then obviously that is altogether a different story. That is from a business angle and cooking up your books. So what we see is the information which we received in the financial statements, right? Okay, so this we have already discussed, that identification of the transaction. This slide is no longer relevant. Okay, a very good slide. Who uses the accounts? So without seeing the slide, just tell me now, after we've almost invested 20 minutes on this topic now you tell me who all are interested in the accounts. Maybe you can just type it in the chat box or just unmute yourself and tell it to me. I want one answer from everyone.
Investors.
Investors, right?
Companies, sir.
Any organization owners or
Any organization?
so they own owner.
Yes, owner. Yeah. Sanjeev? Government. Yeah, right.
Investors.
Investors. Yes.
Shareholders.
Analyst.
Investors and shareholders are the same. Yes, right.
Debtors
And
and
someone was
creditors.
saying debtors and yes, right. Someone was saying analyst. Who said analyst?
Fazlur.
Fazlur. Okay, yeah, right, Fazlur. You're right. Rishabh?
Investors and shareholders.
Investors, shareholders, right. Deepak?
Employees.
Yes, employees also. Deepak, Aditya.
I think everybody has given all the answers. And
Individuals also, sir.
Anyone you can think of? Anyone? Any entity which you believe would be interested?
टीचर्स इंटरेस्टेड होंगे
Bankers would be interested?
सर कंपटीटर्स
Yes, obviously. Competitors. Let us look at this slide. The shareholders and investors. So, if I am a shareholder in a company, why would I be interested in the financial statements? I want to know how well is the company performing, right? I want to know whether I need to increase my stake, reduce my stake, whether I will be getting a capital appreciation or not. Like if today, considering the news attached to, because there was a time 2 years back, shares like DHFL and Yes Bank were traded at a very high value than what they are today. They were traded somewhere around 300, 400 rupees. And today they have lost most of their value. Just because their financial statements and there were certain irregularities and their financial statements right now do not show a good picture. So
Even
as
PNB,
an investor, I would like to see their financial statements, that what is the future prospect of the company. Whether if the company is making too much profits, I would like to see whether they are paying any dividend or not. Because see, why do we invest money? We invest money so that we get a return out of that money, right? We do not just park our money somewhere. We are investing money to get a return out of it. Okay, return in the form of capital appreciation, that okay, I invested 100 and that 100 is 140 today. Or I am getting a regular stream of income like dividends from that money. So customers. Why are customers interested in the financial statements? If I am a customer of a company, why am I interested? Would you like to take a guess? So as a
Maybe-
customer, yeah, tell me.
Maybe like if I'm buying any bike or like I am saying about the Bajaj company, I want to buy a bike. If the company is doing good, maybe they will provide discounts on the bike. So like that perspective, like
Not exactly. That is a different, altogether a different story, that whether they get a discount. But see, today if I want to buy a, like let's say a Honda car, I'll see their financial statements. If their financial statements are good, I believe that okay, this company will stay afloat for the next 5 to 10 years. Because today, if we invest heavily in a company, we need to see whether that company is not frauding their customers. Because today, if I purchase their product and tomorrow that company is closed, and if there is any problem in my product, to whom will I go and get the product repaired? Today, if Honda company is closed in India, then all the showrooms and service centers of Honda will be closed. And if I own a Honda car, then where will I go if my car breaks down? If there is some major problem in my car. Today I know there are thousands of service centers available all across the country. I can just go over there and get my car repaired or serviced or whatever breakdown is there in my car. So that is why. Tax authorities. Now, tax authorities, government, why are they interested? They are interested because they want to know how much you are earning, whether you are paying your taxes on time or not. Employees are interested because employees want to know the financial health of the company, whether company will be paying them salaries on time, whether they will be receiving bonuses or not. As you might have heard in the past 6 months, due to COVID, most of the companies have not given a salary increase to their employees because they are preserving cash. Businesses have been affected. They have reduced the amount of bonuses. Some companies have also gone to an extent that they have downsized their number of resources they had. They have given a salary cut to their employees in order to stay afloat because they know that the business is down, especially companies in the hospitality sector or aviation sector. They have felt the major loss due to COVID-19. So employees keep a regular check on the financial statements to know how the company is doing. Bankers. Why are bankers interested? Anyone who has given me money, that person would like to see how well I'm doing. If that person will not have access to my financial statements, he will outrightly refuse a loan to me. No bank will ever give me a loan if they see that my financial statements are in red. They will also evaluate whether I have a repaying capacity or not, whether I have a business model which can sustain or not. Getting me? Anyone who has a query? Any query till now? Shall I move ahead?
Yes, sir, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are some questions which we just discussed. The questions asked by internal users, like what is the cost of manufacturing? Can we afford to give employees a raise? Management will want to see the owners of the company, the management, the board of directors of the company. They would like to see that do we have enough cash with us? If they are making 5 products, they would like to have the records of all those 5 products and see which product is the most profitable and which is the least profitable product. How is the company doing with regard to its competitors? Is the company earning satisfactory income? That, okay, now Airtel and Jio, if I'll say the biggest competitors, they'll see that Airtel will see how well Jio is doing. Jio will see how is Airtel doing. They want to compare their profitability with their competitors. Will the company be able to pay its debts as they come due? The same question which we discussed 15 minutes back, that whether the company has good amount of cash in their bank accounts to repay their debts when they will be due, right? Not much to discuss over here. We have already discussed this. So this is like a simple conflict of interest. What happens is we need to separately disclose if my shareholders, the persons who are owning my company, whether I'm doing any other transaction with them or not. So I'll just take a simple, give you a simple, very simple logic for this. So what happens is I have a shareholder who's owning 70% stake in my company, and I also buy goods from that person. The normal price of that good is 100 in the market if I purchase it from an unrelated entity, but that person gives me goods for 120. Because he is my shareholder, I am giving him that benefit that, okay, you charge me 20 rupees higher so that you can earn more. So that is why the financial statements need to give a disclosure that if I am doing any transaction with the related entity, then I need to disclose it separately. Not much to discuss. Yeah, now comes an important topic. Types of accounts. So guys, please, whenever you have a doubt in this, please do ask me at that very point of time. This is an important topic. So there are 2 types of accounts, personal and impersonal. Personal, as the name suggests, it refers to an individual or like an organization. Impersonal, is bifurcated into two, real and nominal. So in a nutshell, there are three types of accounts. One is personal, second is real, third is nominal. So the personal account says elements or accounts which represent person and organization. If I have a creditor, Mr. X, Mr. Y, Ram account, Sham account, or any company account in the books of, if Airtel is my customer, I'll say Airtel is a personal account in my books. Any account which represents a single person or any company, organization is a personal account, right? So now there are certain rules of, so I'll take these rules later, okay? Let me first explain you personal, real, nominal, then we'll explain the rules. Real accounts. All the accounts which are tangible, basically assets, all the accounts which are real in nature and are tangible are called real accounts. Simple. All the assets account like factory, building, land, office equipment, vehicles, they are all tangible accounts. Nominal account. Now this is the simplest category. Personal was anyone within individual or an organization. Real was all the tangible accounts. Nominal is all expenses and all income accounts like sales account, purchase account, rent account, any charges account, housekeeping charges, salary charges, interest expense charges, sales account, they are all nominal accounts. Clear? Anyone has a doubt in what is real, personal and nominal?
No, sir.
So I'll be writing questions. You can on the chat tell me which type of account is it. Ram account. Real, nominal or personal?
Personal.
Personal account.
Anyone who does not agree with me that this is not a personal account? Anyone? Or all of you are?
Ram account is a personal account. Sir.
Yeah, Ram account is personal account. Okay. Interest expense account.
Nominal account.
Nominal, sir.
Nominal.
Nominal.
Nominal account.
Nominal. Perfect. Debtor account.
Nominal, sir.
Nominal, sir.
Nominal, sure. Everyone agrees?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Real account.
Real. Okay. So we have people who are saying nominal. We have people who are saying real. Anyone for personal?
It's a personal account, sir.
It's
Personal,
a personal
personal.
account. Yes, it's a
What is
personal
the
account.
question,
It's
sir? What is the
Debtor
question?
account. Debtor account. Whether debtor account is a real account, whether it's a personal account or a nominal account.
It's a sir, nominal account.
Nominal account. Okay. So what did I tell you about nominal account? They are either expenses account or income account. Is debtor account an expense account or an income account?
Debtor is a personal account.
Debtor is a personal account. Why is it? Because all the accounts associated with an individual or an organization are personal accounts. Getting? All of those who said that this is a nominal account or a real account, no, the answer is it is a personal account. Real account are associated with tangible assets. Okay, now tell me building account.
Real account, sir.
Real, sir, real.
Real.
Everyone agrees for real?
Yes, sir.
Okay, last.
Also tangible. We can say also tangible assets.
Yes, real account is that account is a tangible asset. Yes. So last, interest on investments.
Nominal, sir.
Nominal.
Nominal.
And why nominal? Why nominal?
Because this is the expenses.
This is something.
Expenses.
Expense for the company, sir.
Because interest, if I have paid, then it's an expense. If I have received, then it's an income. And all expenses and income accounts are nominal accounts.
Nominal.
As simple as it gets. Fine? So now do not forget these three things, basic things. If anyone asks you, you need to know personal account has to be associated with an individual person or an organization. Real account has to be tangible in nature. Personal account, all expenses and income account. So anyone asks you in future, you just need to know the three basics. Okay, so rules of accounting. Have you heard about? So will it be fair to assume that everyone from you is from accounting background, or you guys are from different backgrounds? Anyone who is not from an accounting background?
We are all, I think, accounting background.
Okay, perfect. That's great. So you would have heard of the three golden rules of accounting. What are the three golden rules of accounting?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Debit the receiver, credit the giver.
Credit the giver.
Credit the giver.
Yes.
Real account,
Debit
what comes in debit and what is credit.
Yes.
Nominal account is all expenses and losses are debit and all income and gains are credit. This is the nominal account.
Yes, this is the nominal account. So three golden rules: debit the receiver, credit the giver. Very simple entry.
This is the personal account.
If,
This is the personal account.
yes. So if today Deepak gives me 1,000 rupees, what entry will I pass in my books of accounts? Deepak, tell me. Give me 1,000 rupees and I am preparing my books of accounts. Which accounting rule will I see for passing an entry?
Can you please repeat it?
If today you give me 1,000 rupees, you lend me 1,000 rupees, right? So which rule will I apply and what entry will I pass in my financial accounts? Or maybe entry you can leave. Just see which rule will I apply.
The
in my
entry will be
books.
account notes payable 1,000 and the cash will increase by 1,000.
Yes. So cash, what am I receiving in my business? What comes in? That is debited, right? The simple real account funda, cash account. What is coming in? Debit, what comes in? So I will debit cash account and credit the giver. Who was the giver? Deepak. In my books, what has come in? If I get 1,000 rupees from Deepak, what has come in my business? Cash. Cash of 1,000 rupees has come into my business. So I'll say debit what comes in. I will debit cash account and credit the giver. So it is not necessary that if I have to see debit what comes in, credit what goes out. Because a journal entry can be a mix of real, personal and nominal accounts. It is not necessary that if I debit a real account, then I also have to credit a real account. No, that is not the case. You can debit a real account and credit a personal account.
And so if it is question that it is for business, then cash is debit to To capital is credit.
No, if I am the person who is putting in, if a shareholder, if Deepak is not my shareholder, if Deepak is my friend,
Yeah, right.
and I am taking money from my friend that, okay, as a loan, give me some money as a loan, I will return it to you after 6 months. Then I will credit Deepak's account. If Deepak is a shareholder in my company, or Deepak wants to become a shareholder in my company, then I'll do
That-
cash account debit to equity shareholder account. Equity shareholder
Alright.
account, yes, and which eventually goes into the capital. Okay,
Clear,
so
sir.
we have some examples. Yes, yeah, tell me. Yeah,
Clear.
someone was saying anything?
Clear.
Okay.
Clear, sir.
Okay. So now there are certain examples. Salary paid to staff. What will happen over here? You can see the entry salary debit to cash account. So you understand why this entry is being passed? Because I have paid salary to my staff. So eventually what has happened, there is one expense which has taken place, which expense is called salary. So and there is a rule, debit all expenses, right? Debit all expenses. So what I do, I debit the salary expense. And then there is a rule, credit what goes out. And what is going out of my business? Cash. That is why I debit salary account and credit cash account. Clear to everyone? Anyone having any problem in the journal entry can ask me to stop and I'll re-explain it.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, but accounting स्टैंडर्ड के अकॉर्डिंग तो एक रूल्स और आता है मॉडर्नाइजेशन रूल. एसेट जब एसेट इंक्रीज करता है तो वो डेबिट होता है और जब लायबिलिटी इंक्रीज करता है तो वो क्रेडिट होता है.
Yes, बिल्कुल सही.
अकॉर्डिंग ये मॉडर्नाइजेशन रूल तो अकॉर्डिंग तो हम लोग तो ज्यादातर फ्लो करेंगे.
So Rahman, if you see, this is what is happening over here. It also says that when an expense is there, so here no asset is increasing. On the other hand, asset is decreasing. And that rule says when asset is decreased, you credit the asset. So that is what I am doing.
Yes.
I am crediting my cash account. And I am debiting my expense account.
हम लोग ज्यादातर अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड को ही फॉलो करेंगे ना.
अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड को फ्लो करेंगे. अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड की वजह से ही ये कर रहे हैं हम. अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड कहता है कैश उसको क्रेडिट करो. जब कोई एसेट कम हो जाता है उसको क्रेडिट करते हैं. वी क्रेडिट दैट एसेट.
यस.
And
all assets increase in the
yeah, all assets have a debit balance. All liabilities have a credit balance.
Credit balance.
So when
That's
an asset, so we are crediting the asset when asset is reduced, and we debit all expenses. There is no increase in asset in the question. There is an expense being made by the company due to which asset balance is being reduced. That is why we are crediting the asset and debiting an expense. Okay. So double entry bookkeeping system. We all know that for every debit, there is a corresponding credit. Simple thing. Not to discuss much in this.
Sir.
Yeah.
Hello. What is the difference between what is the difference between bookkeeping and accounting?
We will come to that.
Finance
We will come to that in the later part of the slides. Just giving you a simple heads up on this. Bookkeeping is only one aspect of accounting. It's like recording in the journal. The very first thing. Whenever you do a transaction, you keep a record of it. That is called bookkeeping. Accounting is a much larger picture. Accounting is classifying it, preparing a trial balance, summarizing it in trial balance. After that, interpreting it, analyzing it, that what are my profits, what are my losses, making presentation, showing it to the management to see that, okay, this is my increase from last year, this is my decrease from last year. That whole area is called accounting. Okay.
बट सर दोनों में तो फाइनेंशियल एनालाइजिंग एंड इंटरप्रिटेशन दोनों में हो रहा है.
दोनों में नहीं हो रहा.
दोनों में हो रहा है.
बिकॉज आपका बुक कीपिंग, व्हेन यू डू बुक कीपिंग, you only do the transaction recording. That is it. Your job is over. A bookkeeper, if I give all the bills of today to my bookkeeper, he will just record it in a book called journal, and that's it. His work is over. After that, the role of a chief accountant comes in, who prepares summaries of that account.
सर कुछ बुक में इसका जो डेफिनेशन है, मीनिंग है, सेम तरीके से दे रखा है. फाइनेंशियल एनालाइजिंग, इंटरप्रिटेशन, इस तरीके से दोनों का दे रखा है.
नहीं, वो उनका इंटरप्रिटेशन कुछ और होगा. सो द बेसिक डिफरेंस, बेसिक प्रीमाइस बिटवीन अ बुक कीपिंग.
Can I ask a basic question?
Yeah.
What is the difference between economics and accounting? Can we say that accounting is a subset of economics?
No, that is not true. Economics is a different part. Accounting is the recording part. Accounting is basically recording. And economics is a whole together different story. Why are we linking it? Any specific reason?
No, you can proceed, please.
Basically, see, the thing is that economics relates to resources and all, right? And accounting relates to numbers, wherein you record your transactions and then you prepare the end result of that transaction is you prepare your financial statements, which is called recording to reporting. Okay, coming to the next topic, managerial versus financial accounting. Simple. Whatever we have discussed till now, that was more from a point of view of a financial accounting. That we prepare information and then we prepare our financial statements. That is called financial accounting. In simple terms, if I go for what is managerial accounting, then that is a set of books prepared for management. Why? Because management wants to see that what exactly is happening. Like now, if today I am an investor, I don't get the information on the financial accounts that which product of a company is doing well. Now, Britannia has lots of products in market. Financial accounts will not tell me whether they are earning more revenue on their Britannia bread or they are earning more revenue on the Britannia cheese. But management is interested in knowing that. They want to know each and every detail. So they prepare their management information system, which is called MIS, which helps them to prepare the budgets and analyze those budgets so that they can give the relevant information to their management, whether what is the cost of individual products, which product is profitable.
Managerial accounting is a forecasting.
First, preparing the budgets and then forecasting. First, you, based on the historical information, you prepare the as-is numbers, that what are the as-is numbers. And then you forecast those numbers that how well do you see in the next 5 years.
My question is, it's a managerial accounting is a forecasting.
It is not only forecasting, Deepak. It is not only forecasting. There are steps involved. So what you have to do is, first, you break down the information which is available to you. Then you set down the budget that, okay, what is my current situation? Because in the financial accounting, you don't go product by product or line by line. You just prepare the financial accounts for the company as a whole. As I am taking the example of Britannia bread and Britannia cheese or Britannia biscuits. So the thing is that when a managerial accounting is taking place, then they will break their revenue, their sales, their profits, their expenses, line by line and product by product, which will help them to forecast. So this is not only forecasting, this is calculating the cost of the product, checking what are the margins on the product, and then to forecast. First, they'll see which is currently profitable, and then they use their assumptions that, okay, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, what can we do in the product to increase the sale of this product? Or if this is a market leader, if like I'll say Britannia bread is the market leader, then they'll see, okay, by this current projections, what do we believe that in the next 5 years will we be retaining the market share? Because they all have this piece of managerial accounting is a very wide role. Whatever information management needs to run its business. Getting my point?
What says that how we are arriving on these numbers through financial accounting. What past we have done, we are just interpolating or extrapolating those numbers in the form of forecasting and all that.
Yes.
So I don't understand why we are comparing. So what's the comparison of financial accounting with vis-a-vis this managerial accounting?
No.
Not
See,
understood.
we are not. See, Deepak, the point is we are not comparing that what is managerial accounting and why. Because see, financial accounting is altogether a different piece. And from the information available in the financial accounting, when they break down that, when the people who are involved in preparing their MIS and doing the financial planning and analysis, there is altogether a different team of FP&A in different companies. They break down that information. See, today, if I am preparing accounts for my company, I have the information related to sales. In my financial accounts, I put one number as sales 100 crore, that is it. But I do have information on the breakup of that 100 crores. That 100 crore is from which product, from which region, whether it is international or it is local. I break down that information in order to prepare managerial accounts. So that is it. Financial accounting is the starting step for that. I take the numbers from financial accounts only. I cannot say that I have reported a number of 100 crores in my financial accounts, but in my managerial accounts, my sales would be 110 crores. That cannot be possible. Numbers have to match.
Can you please repeat?
I'm saying that if my revenue number is 100 crores in financial statements, the revenue number in my managerial accounts will be 100 crores only. It will not change. It will not be 90, it will not be 110. But I will break down that 100 crores that, okay, from what all products have I earned this 100 crores? In which all months I've earned how much revenue? From which region have I earned this number? Whether it is local or it is international. So I break that information. I go to the most granular level in managerial accounts. Because my management is interested, they have to take business decisions based on these numbers. Whether to expand in a particular territory. If management believes that their margins on the international products are higher, they will want to go in the international market. Or they see that, okay, their product, one particular product is not doing too good in the market. They need to take a strategic decision whether to continue with its production or to enhance some marketing expenditure in that product so that that product gets a good market share. Management needs to take those strategic decisions. And we as accountants provide them with this information so that they can take a decision for running the business or increasing the market share.
The MIS reporting is not open for public disclosure, right?
No, managerial accounting is not open for public disclosure. It is only for the management. As per what tomorrow when tomorrow I show you the financial statements of a company, I'll introduce you to a topic called segment reporting, where they report for a segment, but not particularly details like what are mentioned in their MIS. That is only for the relevant people of the company to see. It is not available for each and every employee of the company also, because that has company sensitive information. So moving ahead. So this is like whatever we discussed, what is financial accounting. This is like again a summary of whatever we have discussed: recording information, classifying, communicating, summarizing. This is again a summary of discussions. Not relevant. Yeah. So Fazlur, your question: difference between accounting and bookkeeping.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This is my question.
So, are you able to see that? What does this say? Accounting includes bookkeeping. Like it is like a subset. Bookkeeping is a subset of accounting. And bookkeeping involves only the recording of certain events. Like what event you have recorded. If today I come and I give 10 bills to my accountant, he will just record those 10 bills in the journal and that is it. He will not do anything else. That is part called as recording. But the classifying, summarizing, analysis, presentation, that the whole aspect of accounting, that is performed by the chief accountant, right?
Right, sir.
Okay. So this is process. If you can see the screen, recording to reporting, this is called the R2R. In accounting scenarios, we call it as R2R, recording to reporting. Reporting means the preparation of financial statements, which includes balance sheet, statement of profit and loss, cash account, and statement of changes in equity. Don't worry, I'll show you everything tomorrow in annual report of one of the Fortune 500 companies. So this is what is showing that, okay, what happens in bookkeeping, accounting. Okay, coming to an important topic called ethics. What do we understand by ethics? Aditya, I haven't heard from you since you started.
Ethics is a morality.
Okay. And in respect of a business, what is ethics with respect to the business?
Social responsibility of business.
Okay.
Full disclosure.
Anyone else?
Full
Sorry?
disclosure.
Full
Full
disclosure.
disclosure.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Full disclosure. Anything else?
Transparency.
Transparency. Right. Anyone else? Deepak, would like to hear your view on ethics.
It's a morality through which you are presenting your financials.
Presenting your financials, or maybe doing your business also. That we are selling the right products. We are not using any harmful content in our products. Right? Go ahead. Something else?
No, that's it. That's it.
Okay. So in general terms, ethics are basic standards which we need to follow while doing anything, be it our personal lives, be it our professional lives. When we say that there are certain ethics we need to follow, that okay, in business we will not bribe anyone. We'll not bribe anyone. We will to our customers that whatever product we are using, that is ethical. We'll have transparency in our financial accounts. There will be nothing which will say that this is not right. That if there is any transaction happening between shareholders, we'll provide a complete disclosure with regard to that. And why do we need to follow ethics in business? What is so important? Can anyone give me some example of unethical practices in business, which you would have seen? I believe in the last 2, 3, 4 years, you would have definitely seen some unethical practices in business.
Window dressing.
Yes, that is one big unethical practice.
Disclosing insider news to outsider or the investors related to the company.
Yes, insider. Basically, in other words, we can also say as insider trading. That if I know a particular merger is taking place, and then what I do is I tell that information to someone or buy shares of that entity. If I am consultant to any particular merger, I know that their merger of X and Y entity is going to take place. So what do I do in that case? I know that X company's share will gain after the merger. If today I purchase shares of that company, that is an unethical practice, right? Anything else which rings a bell?
Lending to shell companies, sir.
Lending to shell companies. This is what we have heard in the PNC Bank crisis.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so one of the biggest scams and which shows unethical practices happened in 2010, which was the Satyam scam. Heard of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what happened in the Satyam scam? The accountants were told to do window dressing of their accounts, to increase the revenues, to increase the profits, to book fictitious invoices. The services were not given, but the invoices were booked. That is why this Satyam scam unfolded. So what happened one day when the owner realized that now nothing can happen, I cannot, because he knew that all the profits which were being shown in the financial statements were false. They were not actually true. He realized that he will go bust because there is no cash is taking place. Today, I am booking a fictitious invoice. I am creating a fake debtor and a fake income. That income will never materialize to me, right? If it's a fake invoice, I'm selling goods worth rupees 10,000 and I'm actually recording it as 50,000, then whether I will receive those extra 40,000, I will never receive that amount. So this is what happened in Satyam's books. The owner, Mr. Ramalinga Raju, colluded with their accountants and presented a fake picture, due to which when this scam got unfolded, then all their customers, major customers left. So many of them filed a damage suit against them. So many officers went to prison and whatnot.
It's not Satyam, it's only. It was PwC also involved in that, to making that.
So
things happen.
That is okay.
Overstating that those assets.
So see, obviously you cannot do any, because see, what do the auditors do? The auditor's job is to check whether whatever you are showing gives a true and fair view of the accounts or not. Auditors know if today I am showing that, okay, I have this much revenue, auditors will check, okay, show me your documents. What all revenue? Okay, if you have sold this product for 50,000 rupees, then why only 10,000 has come into your account? They do a cross verification. So auditors colluded with the management, but who was the primary responsibility is always of the financial statement is of the management, not the auditors. Auditors give a opinion on the financial statements.
My point is that all these fraudulent activities has happened because of bribe accepted by auditors, right from the Enron to the Rajat Gupta, McKinsey, and this PwC of with Satyam.
Yeah, I totally agree. That is why if you could just relate to a recent example, ILFS. So they are also blaming auditors for that. They are also blaming BSR and Deloitte for that. So I totally agree. That is in the public domain and we can talk about it. But over here, the question is of ethics. And yes, the ethics have been compromised by the management as well as the auditors. Right? Okay. So Satyam scam. They are also showing that, okay, this person, what did he do? He asked the accounts to manipulate the records, fake receipts, and then one day he got exposed. Obviously, as Deepak pointed out, the auditors were also involved because ultimately auditors are checking the financial statements and auditors get to know if there is something which is fishy. If there's something which is raising a red flag, auditors should have reported it. But auditors choose not to, due to reasons known to them, right? Okay. So any problem till here? Anyone has any query, or shall we just move ahead? Anyone who wants me to repeat a particular thing, or shall we move to financial terminologies?
Do we have to? We'll complete at a later stage about the companies like LLP and all that.
No, this is not a part of this topic. Maybe if you have any question, then post this session, we can have a talk separately on that. LLPs and all are not a part of this because this is a session on principles of accounting. You may have a session later, like in the coming days, depending upon your schedule, whether that talks about how the accounts of LLPs would be made, what is the difference from accounting for a company and accounting for a partnership firm or an accounting for an LLP. Okay, so coming on financial terminologies, which we usually see in the financial statements. Revenue, sales, everyone knows that that is the value of products sold by the company. That is called sales revenue. And then if there is any income, other income which is earned from some passive sources, as the example over here is provided as royalty, or like I can say sale of scrap, or if I say that if a company is exporting and it is getting some duty drawback from the government, so they are my other operating revenue, which combined with the sales of products or services becomes my revenue from operations. So first thing is
sales and revenue are one and the same thing.
Yeah, sales and revenue are one and the same thing. But you can see for a revenue if reported in the financial statements, it means revenue from operations, which also includes a duty drawback, any kind of a government grant related to exports, any kind of scrap, anything you got out of scrap processing. A company generates a scrap doing its manufacturing operations. So what happened is there's some scrap which is generated and the company sells off that scrap. Though that is not any product or services in which a company deals in. However, that is an income to the company, which the company receives. So how the company discloses it? Sales from products, sales from services. Third point, income from sale of scrap. Fourth point, duty drawback. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, total revenue from operations. Right? Overheads. What are overheads? Any expense which you need for running a business. Like if you are involved in a manufacturing activity, you're running a machine, you're employing labor, you're employing material. They are called direct labor and direct material. But now you've taken a rented facility. There is electricity which is required. Salary cost for the admin and accounting staff. There are certain people who are not directly involved in the production facility, in the manufacturing facility, but they are also working in the same office. So these expenses are called overheads. What is profit? In very simple terms, if my revenue is higher than my expenses, revenue minus expenses is profit. If revenue is lower than my expenses, so expenses minus revenue is my loss. Simple terms. Assets. Assets refer to those properties, investment and other financial claims that a company has. Basically, asset is something which gives me future economic benefits. I recognize an element as an asset when I know there is a future benefit from that particular asset which I will receive. If today I buy a car for my company, what is the future economic benefit that I will receive from this usage of this car? That is, that car will help me take my people from their home to office and give them a pick and drop facility, which gives me benefits in my business. Because employees will be reaching on time, going back on time, hence they will be more productive.
Can you explain value once again?
Okay. Value represents the profit of a company, which is profit which is generated, which is adjusted for the underlying risk it takes. So if today I ask you, what is the value of a company? So there are certain methods due to which value of a company is calculated. We calculated the value of a company based on its assets, based on its profits, based on its market capitalization. So if I say that the company has generated 1,000 crores of profit in 1 year, so we assume certain multiples based on the current market scenario, current economic scenario in which we are, and then we use some risk factors to calculate what is the total value of a company based on this profit. I'll say, okay, this year I have earned 1,000 crores. In the next 20 years, I believe I'll be earning 40,000 crores. So taking that into consideration, we calculate a value of the company.
All right, sir.
That we call as the enterprise value. Liability, in simple terms, amount which a company owes to a third party. Who is a third party? Who is not an owner to the company. Anyone who is not an owner to the company is a third party. Whatever amount I own to a third party, I have to pay it back to the third party. That is a liability for a company. Now, it can be a liability if I purchase some goods from you on credit. I have to pay you back. You are a creditor. You are an accounts payable for me. I have to pay that amount to you. So that is a liability for me. If I have taken some money from a bank as a bank loan, that is a liability for me. If I have issued some debentures to general public or to corporates and I need to pay them back after 5 years, then that is a liability for me. Anything which I need to repay back is a liability. Simple terms. Moving ahead, debt, same as debentures, what we discussed, liabilities which are interest bearing. Now, if there is a creditor, he won't be interest bearing. I can pay to the creditor after 6 months and I'll pay the actual amount what is due from him, or what is due to him, sorry. But a debenture on the other hand will be interest bearing. What is equity? Equity is the residual amount which is payable to the owner of the company after deducting all the liabilities from the assets. Because shareholders are the owners of the company, we all know that. So when after paying debts to the third party, if I had assets worth rupees 1 lakh rupees with me and my debts to third parties are 70,000, then I'll say what is left for the shareholder? That is 30,000 rupees. So the next topic is accounting equation, which says that equity is equal to assets minus liabilities, or in other terms, assets is equal to equity plus liability. So this is an accounting equation. Everyone knows accounting equation?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So we'll touch this topic in detail when we reach over there. Capital expenditure. When I purchase some fixed assets, what are fixed assets? Any particular asset which gives me benefit for more than 1 year are called
Can you
fixed
please
assets.
elaborate on this? Sorry to interrupt you. It's on this
Yeah,
debt
yeah.
part. What it means? It represents the liabilities that are interest bearing.
Okay, okay. So see, you understand accounts payable, trade payables?
Yes.
Deepak, am I audible?
Yes. I
So
understand.
you
that.
understand? Yeah, you understand trade payables. If today I purchase goods from, let's suppose you, for 50,000 rupees, in my books you are a trade payable for me. Do I need to pay any interest to you? If I pay you back within the normal credit terms, and I believe credit terms are 6 months, do I need to pay any interest to you? The answer is no, right? However, if I take a bank loan, and bank loan is for 6 months, I go to a bank, I say that boss, I need some 5 lakh rupees for a small transaction to be made. Please give me loan for 6 months. The banker says, okay, this is your, we do the loan agreement and all. This is your 5 lakh rupees check, and your interest rate is 10% per annum. So if I repay the loan after 6 months, then as per the contract, I need to pay him 25,000 rupees.
Those are the basics. But you have told that in this something about debenture in that.
Yeah, so debentures and okay, so I'll explain it from the point of view of debenture. Okay, so what happens is today my company needs money.
Second question will be what's the basic difference between a bond and a debenture?
Okay, fine. So the first question, that what is a debenture and why a debenture is like, what is the difference, like what is interest bearing and all, right? So my company needs money, and instead of going to a bank, I say that okay, let me raise debt. How do I raise debt? I go to corporates and individuals and I tell them that I need this much money. I get underwriters and all. There's a whole process towards issuing of debt. We will not go into the detail because this is an accounting session and not a transaction advisory session. I issue debt of rupees 5 lakh to various corporates and individuals. And as per the terms of those debentures, I need to repay them these debentures after a period of 5 years with an annual interest of 12%. Getting? Deepak?
Okay. Yes, please.
So if I need to pay them at an annual interest rate of 12%, then that is a liability which I need to pay to my debenture holders. And that liability is interest bearing. Because I also need to pay them 12% interest. And now that interest can be cumulative or it can be non-cumulative. Or maybe that depends upon terms of the debentures. There are certain debentures which say that, okay, you pay me interest at the time of redemption only, after 5 years only, accumulate the interest. And then there are certain debentures which stipulate a interest payment every 6 months or every 1 year. Right?
Okay.
And then if you go towards what is the difference between a bond and a debenture, largely there is no difference if we see it from an accounting perspective. However, if I see it from a valuation perspective or a transaction perspective, then I can say that bonds are generally for a longer period of time. Debentures can be for a shorter period and a longer period. Debentures usually are unsecured. Whenever we see an advertisement on television that this X company has come out with its debentures paying interest rate at 11.75%, obviously we can see that normal FD is paying 5 to 6% per annum, and on the other hand, debentures are paying such a huge interest of around 11 to 12%, but they are unsecured. And bonds can be secured or unsecured, but for accounting terminologies, bonds and debentures are used interchangeably. Right? Is it good to move ahead?
Please, please.
Okay. So there are certain accounting concepts, as the topic is principles of accounting. In other words, rules of accounting. So there are certain accounting concepts on which we should focus on which we prepare our financial statements. First is the going concern concept. So what does the going concern concept says? Going concern concept emphasizing on the fact that organization, we assume when I am preparing an accounts, so I am assuming that organization will continue into foreseeable future. And what is foreseeable future? Future which I can see for the company, 30 years, 40 years, 90 years. And why do we say so? So for example, I purchase a land, a leasehold land for 99 years. Now, if I purchase that land for 99 years and amount I pay is 99 lakhs, then can anyone tell me what will be the depreciation amount of that leasehold land?
1 lakh. Land cannot be depreciated.
No, leasehold lands are depreciated. That is a freehold land which is not depreciated. Leasehold land is depreciated. Because you have taken a lease,
1 lakh.
you can only use that land for 99 years. You cannot go beyond 99 years. You have the right to use that land for only 99 years. That is it. After 99 years, you need to pay a revised premium to use that land again. So what is the depreciation amount?
1 lakh.
1 lakh. Right. Perfect. Auditor can come to me and say, boss, do you think that you are saying every year you will depreciate this amount by 1 lakh rupees, you will depreciate the land, but do you think that business will continue for 99 years? Then I'll say the going concern concept. The going concern concept says that yes, the organization will continue into foreseeable future. That is why I will depreciate my land in 99 years. I do not foresee. See, I do not know what will happen to my business in the next year. I do not know. Today my business is on the top. Tomorrow it may just fail down. However, if there are no indicators as of now, if my business is going well and there are no indicators which hamper my going concern assumption, then the basic assumption of preparing any accounts is that accounts will be the company will be continued for a foreseeable future, right? Accrual concept, a very important concept, very important. Anyone knows about accrual concept? Deepak, Parul, Nikhil, anyone?
It's a prudence concept, sir. Prudence.
Sir, it says that the income and expenses are to be recorded for the period which they occur.
Yes, right. And why do we do that?
To get the
Why do
actual
we-
profits or losses.
Yes, to calculate the actual profits and losses, we need to record an income in which period it pertains, irrespective of the fact whether I've received a bill or not. So, very simple example. Electricity bill for the month of March. Have we ever seen that electricity bill for the month of March received in the month of March? Has anyone seen that in their houses or in their companies?
No.
Electricity bill
No.
for the period of March always comes in the month of April.
April.
So what do? Do we just do not book electricity expenses for March in the month of March? Or do we book it in the month of April, or do we book it in the month of March only?
Book in a March, but we book in the provision.
Yeah, we book in the provision. So what we do is we book that amount. We book that amount as a provision in the month of March. And why do we do so? Because of accrual concept. Because when have I received the services from the electricity company? I have received the services from the electricity company in the month of March. So that particular expense pertains to the month of March. Hence, I will be booking that expense in the month of March. And same goes for same goes for all the incomes. All the incomes, if today, let's suppose I am providing you guys with a consultancy service in the month of March on any XYZ topic. I have provided my consultancy services in the month of March. However, I have not raised my invoice to you. I raised my invoice in the month of May. However, as per the accrual concept, we need to book this income in the month of May only. Getting? Oh, sorry, in the month of March only, my bad. In the month of March, because it pertains to that period. And in order to find out the profit and losses for the month of March, we need to book all the income and expenses for the month of March in that period only. So whatever period the income and expenses pertain to, we need to book in that period only, right? Third, monetary unit. Only transaction data that can be quantified is included in the accounting records. A very simple example. If I say an employee is happy, he's very happy, he's highly motivated, he's working to his best. And he's working 12 hours a day instead of all other employees who are working 8 hours a day. Do you think I can record that happiness in my books of accounts? Will I be able to do that?
No.
No. Why?
Because it cannot be measured emotions.
Because it cannot be measured. Right. Perfectly fine. So only those transactions which can be measured in the term of money have to be recorded in the financial statements. So there are certain accounting concepts, principles, conventions which have been made for us to mandatory abide by in order to prepare our financial statements. We cannot just wake up and do whatever we want to. I'll say that, okay, I have earned that, I have raised that invoice in May. I cannot do that window dressing, that I will record that amount in May only. Or I have not received an electricity bill for the month of March. I will not record it in the month of March. When auditor will come, he will definitely ask you to make a provision of electricity bill or all the other bills which you have not received in the month of March, due to the concept of accrual. Now, please tell me some other concepts which you know of. What all concepts, accounting concepts, do you know of? Quickly.
Business is a separate entity.
Sorry, come again.
Business is a separate entity.
Yeah, business entity concept. Other? Any other?
Dual aspect.
Dual aspect, right? Come on, others, guys. You are from accounting background. This is the basic premise. Tell me. Deepak, anything from your end?
Nothing.
Okay. Nikhil?
So time period.
Periodicity, right?
Yeah.
Cost concept.
Cost concept, historical cost concept, right?
Consistency
Sanjeev?
concept.
Which one?
Consistency concept.
Consistency, yes. Okay.
Matching concept.
Matching concept, right? Okay, so here are certain concepts which you just guys talked about. Periodic concept, that we need to have results for every period. Cost concept, that we prepare financial statements on the basis of historical cost, right? And not their current market value. We always record financial statements on the basis of what I have paid for that. Dual aspect, every transaction has a dual effect. For every debit entry, there is a corresponding credit entry, which we say double entry bookkeeping. Economic entity, any organization, which basically we need to see if there is any organization, any society, it applies to it. Historic concept we have discussed. Periodicity, money measurement, anything which can be measured in the terms of money is recorded. Happiness, emotions which cannot be measured in the terms of money are ignored while preparing the accounting records. Okay, so these are some other qualities of accounting information. The most important is materiality. Can anyone tell me in simple terms what is materiality? Just ignore whatever is written over here in simple terms. And also answer me one question. Is materiality same for everyone or it is different for company to company? Parul?
Materiality implies the importance, and it can be different from one company to another. Like one information can be material to one and unmaterial to another.
Perfect. So in simple terms, if I say that there is a company named Reliance and there is an expenditure of 1 lakh rupees which has been missed by the Reliance accountant while preparing his books of accounts. And on the other hand, there is a very small company, ABC Limited. Their accountant has also missed an entry of rupees 1 lakh. So what do you think? Will the auditors ask Reliance to book that entry, or will the auditors ask that small entity to book that entry of 1 lakh? Because if I see 1 lakh rupees for Reliance is nothing. A company like Reliance who's preparing their annual financial statements in millions or crores, for them 1 lakh is nothing. It is not a material amount to them. But for a small company, 1 lakh is a very big amount. So the accounting information says that accounting information, in order to be disclosed, should be material. You should not disclose each and every information. Like we were talking about disclosing transaction with your shareholders. So now I'll say that the transaction with my shareholder was ₹100 rupees. Do you think I need to disclose it? I need to clutter my financial statements with irrelevant information? The answer is no. The accounting fundamental says that do not clutter your financial information with unnecessary information, even though that information was required as per the standards in practice. But if that is not material, just ignore that. Do not consider it. Do not clutter your financials do not aggregate so much information in your financials that users say why this information is coming, that users get confused. Objectivity. Objectivity says that the information should be unbiased. Simple. It should be based on some fact pattern, not only on my opinion. If I believe that, okay, this is Prabsharan's personal opinion that this information should come. No. If that information has to come in my financial statements, that has to be unbiased and that should be based on some thorough research and not merely a person's opinion. Third point, understandable. The information should be clear, concise, and complete, so that the users of financial information are able to use that information the way they want to. If the information is not complete, if I just write one simple statement in my financial statement that the company has paid dividend, what will the users get to know? The company needs to write the company has paid dividend of X amount per share for the financial year 2019 and 20. So then the users will get to know, okay, I had 10 shares, the company has paid me 20 rupees dividend per share, I will receive 200 rupees in my bank account. If the financials are not complete to that aspect, what will the user do? Got me? Reliable, relevant, comparable. Reliable means the information should be true and fair. Relevant, that information should be relevant for the users. I should not write any irrelevant information. Comparable, that the same policies which I have used in previous year should be used in the current year. The policies should not change. We should compare apples with apples. We should not compare apples to oranges. Last year I was following X set of practices. This year I'm following Y set of practices. That will not do. They have to be, accounting policies have to be comparable. Got it? Can we start with accounting equation?
I think we have done it till 8:10 and.
Sorry?
What? It's already 10. We have to, how much we'll proceed further? Till what time?
Maybe just 10 more minutes.
Today.
No, just 10 more minutes. I hope that's fine with everyone. Or if anyone has to leave, maybe we can stop by and continue from tomorrow.
Tomorrow continue 10 minutes, not an issue.
Okay. So the last topic for the day, it's basic accounting equation. Whenever we prepare our accounting financial statements, first thing is accounting entries which we pass. And when we pass all the accounting entries, when we prepare the trial balance, then we have to see one basic accounting equation has to match. If that is not matching, then that means there's clearly a problem in my information, which is assets is equal to liabilities plus capital. I'll repeat myself. Assets is equal to liabilities plus capital. What are assets? Fixed assets plus current assets. What are liabilities? We have discussed the liabilities: debenture, bank loan, trade payable. These are my liabilities. What is capital? The amount which I have invested in my business, along with the returns generated on that business. Like I had invested 5,000 rupees in my business 10 years back, but today that 5,000 has grown to 15,000. So I'll say my owner's fund, my net equity is initial 5,000 plus 10,000 which I have earned on that amount. This total is 15,000. So this is a basic accounting equation. Assets is equal to capital plus liabilities. Simple. Okay, so a question is given over here. Everyone can see the question. Do not have a look at the answer. Just see whether the answer is correct or not. Just calculate and then check whether the answer is correct or not. Calculated? Please share your answers in the chat box. What is the shareholders' equity in this question? And how have you calculated it? Tell me. Guys, tell me. Is everyone getting the same answer as stated in the question?
Yes.
The answer is 80. It's very simple one.
Yes, sir.
When asset is equal to capital plus liabilities and I need to calculate the capital, so I just say capital is equal to asset minus liabilities, and my total assets is 120 and my total liabilities are 40. So I'll say 120 minus 40 is equal to 80. So this is again the same thing. We have already discussed these entries. Okay, so one small information which I would like to share with you. So do you know what set of accounting standards are followed in India? Some years back, we have moved on to a different set of standards. So are you guys aware of the fact that in India, we follow Ind AS, which are largely aligned with IFRS, which are followed internationally? Are you aware of this?
Yes, sir.
So earlier we used to have Indian GAAP regime. For all the companies who prepared their accounts till 2016, they used to prepare it under Indian GAAP regime, which we also used to call them as accounting standards. There were accounting standards from 1 to 32, which were issued by ICAI. From 2016, for a certain set of companies, Ind AS, Indian Accounting Standards, has been made mandatory. For some companies, still they are complying with accounting standards who do not meet the threshold criteria. But for all the other companies who meet the threshold criteria for Ind AS, have to apply Ind AS. Ind AS is nothing but a almost 90% replica of IFRS. IFRS are standards which are used internationally, globally. IFRS has its own set of standards, US GAAP, they follow US GAAP. In European nations and other nations, most of the companies are on IFRS. So India did not adopt IFRS as it is. They made certain minor changes to IFRS and introduced their own set of standards known as Ind AS, Indian Accounting Standards.
So they will follow both GAAP and Ind AS, or only one, either of them?
No, only one. See, I'll tell you, a company can follow multiple reporting. A company can do multi-level reporting. They can do multi-GAAP reporting. But for their annual accounts, which is published to the ROC, they have to follow Ind AS. They cannot follow IFRS or the earlier GAAP. They can, for the managerial accounting piece, they can follow IFRS or the earlier GAAP also. But Ind AS is mandatory for financial statements submitted to SEBI or MCA, right?
Okay.
Any problem in this? So on your screens is the criteria for companies to follow Ind AS. Which companies had to Follow Ind AS mandatorily from 1st April 16 or 1st April 17, as the case may be. They had to follow it mandatory. Though all the listed entities having net worth more than 500 crores. All the listed entities as on 1st April 2016 who had their net worth of 500 crores or more had to mandatory follow Ind AS and do reporting in Ind AS. They cannot use any other standard. Same goes for unlisted entities also. From 1st April 17, all the listed it is mandatory for all listed companies. From 1st April 16, it was only mandatory for big listed companies who had a net worth of more than 500 crores. But from 1st April 17, it became mandatory for all listed companies, and for all unlisted companies, those who had their net worth between 250 to 500 crores. Fine. So this was the criteria which was set up by Ministry of Corporate Affairs for companies which need to converge with Ind AS in their financial statements. Okay, slide is not relevant. This is okay, fine. So now we will not touch a new topic because it's already 10:10. We'll start with books of entry tomorrow, and tomorrow what we'll do is we'll finish this remaining topics, and in the last 20-25 minutes we'll run through a complete set of financial statements. So if anyone has had any query till now, they can just ask me. Anything which would have been left or anything which you want to have a recap of.
Do we need to have Excel ready for tomorrow, or you'll just have a view?
No, I will show you. I will show you. I will show you the financial statements of a company.
Okay.
So you need not do anything. If you want, you can go home and just open any company, any listed entity which you know of, Infosys, Tata, Dabur, HUL, Asian Paints. Just download their annual report from the net and see their financial statements. And then we will discuss that what information is parked in each of the financial heads in their profit and loss account. How do people actually read those statements? If I am a party who's interested in financial statements, what I will look for in the company before investing, what bankers will look for, what investors will look for, what government will look for. So we will discuss that. So any other query for whatever we have discussed in the past 2 hours? Anyone would like to mention anything, or we can just call it a day?
Yes.
Yes, Deepak, tell me. Any question, Deepak?
No.
No. Okay, anyone else? Or maybe if you just want to revisit something, you can revisit, and tomorrow we can have like initial 5 minutes. We can discuss if there is any problem you have faced. Right?
Yes, sure.
Okay then. Okay, thank you all. Thank you all. You have been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking out your time and attending the session. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye.